Okay, in today's video, we're going to be going over memory cues and hot cues. So far, what you've learned is the importance of like the cue button and how it sort of like helps you within the process of beat matching. But let's say you're working with a track that's like pretty dynamic. There's a lot of build-ups, there's different drops within the track, there's cool breakdowns, and you really want to take advantage of that and mix in those specific parts of the track within your mix. That's when memory cues really start becoming very important, because otherwise, without these features, you're kind of left to sort of keep track of different parts of the song yourself, and also having to manually scroll through the track to find where you want to go, or use the needle search or hold down search and kind of like skip through the track. And so it's very tedious and it's a lot of work, and especially if you're in the mix, it's unnecessary work that you don't want to do, and you want to focus on being creative, right? So let's talk about memory cues. So essentially, it's creating multiple cue points and that you can easily skip through. So how the workflow is so this is the start of the track. By default, this is where the cue button is. So I'm going to press the memory button, and then it's going to say memory player 1, and so that's pretty much the first one set. So let's navigate to a different part of the song. There's a little bit more going on in the track. So right here is another good place where I want to set it, and then memory. And then let's say kind of want this part as well. And I hit memory again. And so now I have 3 cue regions that the CDJ is now keeping track of. So now using these 2 arrows, I can quickly just skip to those specific parts of the song. So the intro. And so it's already, you can imagine you can do a lot with this already, and it sort of like offloads a lot of stuff you have to keep track in your head. So this is great. So, and let's say you want to delete some memory cues. All you got to do is go to that cue point, hit delete, and delete. And you notice the red needles on top of the waveform, they also goes away as well. And so back to the very start of it, hit delete, the red arrow indicating the memory cue also goes away, which is really nice. So the next thing I want to talk about are hot cues. And so hot cues kind of behave similarly to cue points. They kind of have that same fundamental feature where they keep track of various points of the song for you, but except as soon as you hit the hot cue button, it's going to start playing automatically. So how we do that is, and it's a little weird, so we have to press this recall button, and you're going to notice these are all going to light up in red. And so as long as these are lit up in red, they're going to, you can pretty much set them wherever you want. And then notice how as soon as I press it, it starts playing. But I want to go back. I want to set the first one here, and just for the sake of, we'll just kind of do the same way from like the memory cues. Be mindful that sometimes there may be a lag, but that's just normal. So yeah, and then we press this again. I also do want to point out how the fact that quantize is on, this also has a lot of control over the hot cue functionality as well. So however way I press these, I can be sure that it's not going to throw up my mix, which is great. But let's say that also in my track, I kind of want to take advantage of some isolated kicks or snares or hi-hats or like various samples, and I want to put a hot cues on those so I can kind of like do some really cool creative riffs, right? So on this track, I believe I already set the hot cues here, but notice that if I turn off quantize, so you could really, if quantize is off, you could pretty much do whatever you want. And notice that if this is on, it's very strict. So when quantize is on, the CDJs are a lot more strict on you, and so part of the reasons why sometimes you'll see this off is that some DJs want that full freedom and flexibility to kind of do these cool riffs and fills with their hot cues and kind of do their own thing. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. You can definitely use these tools for your advantage to get really creative, and so yeah.